Confessions of a Recruiter, episode 1. I'm joined here with my co-host, or I might be the co-host, or we're both co-hosts.
We're both co-hosts.
Yeah,
Fitty
both
fitty.
co-hosts. And we decided to make a podcast called Confessions of a Recruiter just to bring some more community in the recruitment space, talk about our wins, our losses, experiences, maybe throw a bit of shit at people that probably deserve it. And just riff, basically, and have something fun where recruiters can
Share stories.
yeah.
War stories.
Yeah.
You know, a bit of education, bit of humour.
Yeah. So let's take
Shoot
a
the
trip
shit.
down. Yeah, let's take a trip down memory lane, Declan. And why don't you introduce yourself and where you came from, where you started before recruitment, and how you got into recruitment.
Yeah, okay. This cliche story I've always told. Yeah, my name is Declan. I was founder of Blended Employment. And before, well, really the working world, I was always, you know, step by step, I went into a trade and then did 2 apprenticeships. So I ended up doing a motor bodybuilding apprenticeship and also a boiler making apprenticeship. So I had a dual trade by the time I was 21. It just wasn't really...
Motor body.
Yeah, we used to build fire trucks.
That's pretty cool.
Yep, fire trucks. And then the day I got signed off, I left that straight away, and it just wasn't really my jam. And then straight after that, I had no job to go to, so I was just picking up random jobs. I did a random welding job for one of my mates at TAFE, tried to sell gym memberships for Anytime Fitness 2 days a week.
Oh, yeah.
2 hours a week, twice a week.
Wow. How'd
That's
you
the
go?
only hours they'd give me. I was...
Is that commission only or?
Yeah, com only, paid monthly. And I was, a string bean. So no one really believed they should sign to the gym to look like me.
Yeah.
So that didn't work. And then I was just labouring. And then we started a little juice business selling juices at the markets. And then we bought a big $30,000 juicer when we were 21, me and a mate, Matty Ollie. And then started slinging juice to cafes across the Gold Coast and Brisbane.
Good. That's how big is this juicer? $30,000 sounds like it would be a pretty hardcore juicer.
Yeah, it's about 6 foot tall.
What?
Yeah, it's massive.
6 foot tall.
Yeah, so the juicer where you put the vegetables in, they're literally like the same size as me. And then it's got a 60-ton press, which it's like, imagine like a cheese grater, but like like half a metre cheese grater that spins around. So the fruit and vegetables go through there, then get grated, and then they fall into a big nylon bag, and then you got a 60-ton press, which jams together.
That's insane.
And
I didn't know it was that hectic.
Yeah,
I'm thinking like a little juicer. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, it was full scale operation. And then and then it falls into like a trough, and then you've got to hand pour it, the concoctions, and then you bottle it after that.
Yeah, right.
So
that's awesome.
Big process. Yeah, so we used to do labouring during the day, and then we'd go to the kitchen under the grandstand at Racecourse Road at the Eagle Farm Races, and then in that kitchen, that's where we'd make all our juices in the cold room and pour it.
Cool.
And then we'd deliver them in the morning and then go marketing during the day.
So was that full time?
Yep. Oh, sort of. We were labouring probably 40 hours a week and then doing markets on the weekends. Markets are about 6 hours each, and then juicing at night. So we're probably doing like 80 hours a week.
Wow.
For a year.
Yeah.
And then we worked that out, that our expenses were too high for the amount of juice we were selling. So then we were like, oh shit, we got to change things. And then you got to be passionate about what you're doing. And, you know, Matty Ollie wasn't really passionate, so we just sort of canned it, sold the juicer 12 months later for about 14K.
That's a big loss.
Yep. Yeah, so we lost pretty hard. And then in the period, I was like, I need a job because I got to pay this juicer off. That's all I cared about.
Yeah.
First job I applied for was a car sales job, and I got an interview that afternoon. I drove my 1991 Hyundai Sonata out to Brendale for an interview. They're like, mate, what do you know about cars? I said, I don't know, but I've got a Hyundai and I love it. It was $1,600 from a mechanic, but it got me the job.
Yeah.
And then I paid the juicer off. Yeah, we paid the juicer down enough in about 12 months to be able to sell it for 14K. And then I was like, oh, this isn't a long-term career for me, you know, walking around a car yard. I wanted to join the Navy, so I was training heaps for that. And then I got accepted into the Army for a rifleman position. And then I just didn't really want to be that either. I just didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I was kicking the footy with Shaunsey in the park, and I think you and Josh rocked up. you guys are like, oh, but we do recruitment. I'm like, I didn't even know people get paid to find someone a job.
Yeah.
And then from there, yeah, you got me a job at an agency and we ripped in there for a couple of years or just under.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I just always had this inkling that I could do things better or different, you know, and always wanted to work for myself given I was doing that beforehand.
So you went from cars to recruitment.
Yep.
So I usually, when I'm talking to recruiters or just salespeople going from a retail sales background into a B2B sales background, into a B2B sales job, I always tell them it's night and day difference. Like the difference between a retail sales job and a business-to-business sales job is crazy. How did you find the transition from selling cars where people would come to you and you would just do a bit of a demo, test drive, and you'd sell a car to getting into recruitment where, you know, nothing would happen unless you picked up the phone and made it happen? Did you find it easy or did you find it difficult? Or?
Well, you remember my first month, I got gifted, I think I billed 30K in my first month.
Yeah. Yeah.
An inquiry came in, did 2 placements, one worth 13, one worth 16.
Yeah.
So that was sort of a false start. And I had a false start in car sales. I sold 26 cars in my first month as well.
Wow.
So like
beginner's luck.
Yeah, beginner's luck, literally. So that was good. And then the next month was like, oh shit, you got to go on the metaphor, like all the thought process. There are no cars in the car yard, and then you got to find your car to sell, and then also find the customer.
Yeah,
that's sort of what B2B sales is.
Yeah,
but I think there's ways to make it easier. You don't have to sit there and cold call a list that you made the night before every single day.
Yeah.
I think the customer service aspect is still definitely the same. It's purely just engaging with the clients a little bit different.
Yeah.
B2B, depending on how good of a marketing team there is or isn't, will depend on what type of customers you interact with from day one.
So you had a 30K a month your first month.
Yep.
And then what did you recruit in? Was there any particular roles that you recruited?
Yeah, I was a branch manager and a sales engineer for a hydraulic company.
Yeah.
And because I knew the hydraulic brands when I was in my trade.
Yeah.
So I found it really easy to find those people.
Mm-hmm.
I just searched the brands that I remember working with.
Yeah.
And then found, one person in Perth, one person in Melbourne.
Okay, so you're in Brizzy.
Yep.
You live in Brisbane. You recruit from Brisbane, but you recruited in a different state. How did you do that? Like most recruiters find that recruiting in different states is a bit odd. Maybe they work at a bigger agency and they're only allowed to recruit in their local area.
I don't know. It was just that was the given. Because everything's online. It's not like you put a sign out the front of your door saying staff wanted anymore.
Yeah.
Everything's databases are online, LinkedIn, Seek, and this is even 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So, it was pretty simple. We just found the person and said, g'day, jumped on a video call, had the interview there instead of them coming into the office, and away we went.
Nice. And then how long were you recruiting for until you started your own recruitment agency?
1 year and 11 months.
See, that's not long.
No.
People are still just trying to find their feet after 2 years in recruitment.
Yeah.
So why did you go out on your own? Did you have something happen, or did you just think, you know what?
I caught up with one of my mates and I was like, how can we make this business better? What can we do better? How can we market it more? And he'd started a big agency called Chefs on the Run 20 odd years ago. And he's like, mate, why don't you just do it for yourself? If you're going to go to that extent for another company that you don't own, why don't you just rip in and do it yourself?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, all right. And then I started planning it 6 months later.
Okay, so it took you 6 months to
go 6 months of planning.
From thinking I'm going to start my own agency to starting your own agency.
Yep.
Yeah, nice.
Saving.
What do you reckon? What was the biggest challenges between start to finish of that 6 months? Was it just saving money and getting the confidence to do it, or?
Oh, no, there's so much stuff you don't even think about, like even just setting up a company. I think the accountant charged us like $3,500 just for a basic trust setup. Yep. You find out now that's a rort.
Yeah.
So it's like unknown costs that you don't think about. CRM. I think I definitely use a different CRM to what we were using at work. So I had to learn how to use that. Whether you sign all the big subscription costs you have to pay. So instead of just having it's the stuff you don't even think about until you start your own business.
Yeah.
Like what actually goes on in the back end and what our old boss was obviously stressed about or worried about after we leave at 5 and we don't give a shit.
Yeah.
We just go home and go to gym.
Yeah.
And, he's making sure bills are paid, rent's due, electricity, insurances, work cover, staff wages. If someone has a bad month, then obviously someone's got to cover that.
Yeah.
So all those aspects, they sort of get slapped in your face when you leave the office to go and do your own thing.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. And so How long have you been
Blended.
running Blended? Yeah.
Just over 4 years, July 3rd,
4 years.
2018,
Nice.
kicked off.
How's it going for you?
We're here now. It's not too bad.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Still
No, it's
alive, still doing
going. The lights are on.
yeah.
No, it's good. I got into recruitment. I'm pretty sure even at the interview, I said, look, mate, I'll be here for 6 months. I'm joining the Navy. So
Really?
yeah.
And you
that's what I
still
said
got
in
the
interview.
job?
Still got the job.
Wow.
Yeah. Paid for
Interesting.
myself in the first month. So
yeah.
but yeah, that was my impression of recruitment. It was never going to be a thing. And then I literally remember doing that first month. I was like, shit, I think I found my jam.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my mates. I'm like, yeah, I think this is it. I'm gonna make
Yeah,
like
that's
10K
awesome.
this month.
Yeah.
He's like, holy shit. And we're 23.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then sort of just your life changes pretty quick.
Mm.
I think by the end of that year, I'd moved out, living on the river at Hamilton, and it was good fun.
The life of a recruiter.
Life of a
The
recruiter.
confessions of a recruiter.
But yeah, that was it. And then Blended's been a bit over 4 years now. But yeah, I started with, we had no money. When we started, it was like a little 6 square meter office. I knew I had 2 months savings,
Yeah.
and then I could rip in. I just found out D was having stage the week before I was going to resign. So I was like, at least I got 9 months to make this happen.
yeah.
And then
Yeah,
that was
that'd be
it.
pretty scary having a kid on the way, starting your own business. Would have been pretty stressful, or?
Oh yeah, you can see photos of me. Like I dropped so much weight,
Yeah, right.
just really skinny and nervous. And everyone thinks you're super rich when you start a business. So all your mates are like, oh, you're killing it, mate. I'm like, what you don't know.
yeah.
So it's like trying to juggle that dichotomy as well.
Mm,
As soon as you start a business, you're loaded.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I fell into recruitment too. Recruitment was not something that I originally anticipated being in.
What made you stick it out and do it?
I actually, going back before getting into recruitment, I actually had a really bad experience with a recruiter once.
Yeah, okay.
I think I was like 19.
Confess, what happened?
Oh, here's my confession. So I was like 19. I was living with mum and dad. This recruitment agency called me, this young girl. She would have been a little bit older than me. Had my resume, worked at this big agency. I think she worked at like Hayes or Randstad or something, some sort of big agency. I was like, yeah, come on in, let's have an interview and we can try and find you something. And I was a bit of a sales guy, so I'm thinking, geez, yeah, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to sit down with a recruiter. I'm going to show them how good I am and they're going to find me my next dream job. That's what I thought anyway. So I took the day off my current job. I put on a suit. I figured out how to get into the city, caught a train in. I'm sweating. And it was like this big mission to try and get into this recruitment agency. Sat in the lobby, met this girl. We spoke for probably, I'd say 3 minutes. And then she just goes, all right, great. Well, yeah, it sounds good. I'll give you a call if we've got anything. And we didn't even talk about my background, my history, what I'm interested in or anything. And that's what I thought you would talk about with a recruiter. And I was really pissed off. And I thought, I'm never speaking to a recruiter ever again. They just wasted half my day trying to get into the city and paying for a train. And, when you're 19-ish, it's still, a big deal, like little things like that. And anyway, I stayed away from recruitment for a while, sold cars similar to you, got out of cars and went into photocopiers, sold MFDs for a company called CSG. Did that commission only for about 1.5 years. And then it just wasn't sustainable. I was eating baked beans for basically 1.5 years, making a couple of sales here and there and making ends meet. And then I applied for random jobs on Seek. I ended up quitting photocopiers with no job to go to. Applied for a random couple of jobs on Seek. Went for an interview with a recruitment agency, but I wasn't entirely sure if I was going for a job with the recruitment agency or a job that the recruitment agency is trying to recruit for. Anyway, met up with them. Everything seemed really good. Had a second interview with...
And they spent more time with you this time?
Yeah, they did. I could actually have a conversation with them. Maybe I was just a bit too young. And thinking back, I think it was just like a candidate resourcer or a KPI target. Just meet 3 people a day. If it's for 2 minutes, who cares? Get them in, get them out. But the issue with doing that is you waste so many people's time that might have better things to do.
And the domino effect down the track.
Yeah. So I've always not liked recruitment because of that experience. But when I was interviewing at this agency, I really kind of looked up to the owner. He was well presented, sharp operator, seemed like he had a lot of things going for him. And I thought, you know what, I could probably learn a thing or two from this guy. And that's mainly why
Yeah, me too.
I got the job there, because I kind of looked up to this,
Yeah,
to him.
gravitate to him.
Yeah. So I got the job, jumped in, loved recruitment, did relatively well from coming from no experience. I think my first year I billed 380K, something like that in my first 12 months. And it was really, really good. Loved it. But my parents have a business as well. They have like a hair and beauty distribution company where they sell, shampoos and conditioners and stuff like that to hair salons. At the time, this is probably about a year and a half in, probably just a bit under. At the time, I was, billing a 50K month and really enjoying the boys that I worked with and the culture of the business, and everything was pretty good. But my parents were like, look, we really need a salesperson to join our company. Do you want to come join the family business? And so I thought, all right, well, I'll go join mum and dad. And the testosterone in me at the time, I thought, oh yeah, I get to sell shampoo to hairdressers and beauty therapists all day. This would be great. I'll just be able to mingle with hot chicks, is essentially what I thought. But it turned out that wasn't the case. And hairdressers are like the tradie version of the female world. They're kind of a little bit rough around the edges. Some are nice. No offense to any hairdressers out there. My parents own hair salons, so and I would drop into hair salons, and it was not a good personality fit, because I was coming from like this hardcore sales recruitment background, very fast paced, high energy, purpose driven. So I'd go into a hair salon and almost treat it like a new client pitch, like, all right, I'm here from Oway. I want to try and see if I can swap your products out for this product and see if it's better than what you've got, and basically just, put all my cards on the table and see if we can come to an outcome if, what I'm selling is better than what they're using.
Yep.
And usually they would just turn around and go, whoa, don't come in here telling us that you want to swap out our product. We've had it for 10 years. And so I just kind of caught him off guard all the time, because maybe I just wasn't doing it right. Anyway, didn't like it. And when the issue and the reason why I started Vendito is not because I purposely, intentionally went out to start Vendito. It's because when I resigned, my old boss thought that I was starting my own agency. And it's funny how you manifest your own fears, but so he, called me all these names under the sun and thought I was doing something, untoward and, offensive. And he took it personal that I was resigning and all this kind of stuff, and withheld commissions from me, which was a shame. And then when I started working for my parents for 3 to 4 months, didn't like it. I thought, shit, you know what? I would have loved to go back to my old agency, because it was a good place to work at the time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And the old boss he was awesome until you resign, and then you basically mean nothing to him. So I thought, geez, I would go back, but I can't, because that whole relationship's just been severed. And then I thought, far out, I'm going to start looking for another recruitment job. And then my mum just turned around and said, why don't you just start your own thing and have a crack yourself? And so that's how Vendito started as well.
Yeah, it's just that one person that goes, mate, just give it a crack.
Yeah, give it a crack. What's there to lose? And then you just have a crack at it. And
if it doesn't work, you go back and work at another agency.
Yeah. You start your own business. You have a crack doing it yourself. And if you can't do it, it's not like a recruitment agency is not going to want to employ you. So I think it shows a lot of ambition, and
you'd be even more employable.
Yeah, exactly. If a recruiter's sitting across from you and they're like, oh, so you tried to start your own recruitment agency? Yeah, I did, but yeah, not for me. I just want to be a recruiter and focus on recruiting. I mean, geez, you'd be hired in a heartbeat. So yeah, that's how Vendito was born.
Yeah, nice.
Working out of my parents' office for the first couple years, and then growing up and getting my own lease and wasting a lot of money, employing my mates and firing my mates, and it's a bit of a journey roller coaster.
Yeah, it's hard enough working with sometimes strangers. What was all that dynamic like?
It was all right. I mean, I look back.
Was it good when it's good and it was bad when it was bad?
There was just no line. Like, when I first started Vendito, I basically convinced like 3 or 4 of my mates to come and work for me, commission only. And so I had like 4 guys start with me straight away.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was good. And like everyone made a little bit of money, but I look back now and it was high levels of emotional chaos because we're all the boys. Everyone was struggling to set boundaries, understand the professional kind of line that you need to cross when you walk into the office and be professional and treat each other as colleagues rather as, boys out on the town, so to speak. And so for the first probably year and a half, we made some really good money, and everyone had a good time, but it wasn't sustainable, that's for sure. And yeah, I mean, we've changed a lot now, 5 years on. We've got a pretty solid team, pretty consistent team. But I think, the first couple of years starting your own business, it's always a little rocky and it's always a little bit touch and go. I'm just lucky. I'm probably a bit more luckier than you, Declan, starting your agency because I had my parents who ran their business in the same office. We shared the same office.
Yeah.
And I had my mum who's, quite savvy to kind of bounce things off and help mediate issues in the workplace if the boys were like, no, that's my candidate, that's my client or whatever it was. It got to the point where everyone was swearing so much in the office. The people in the warehouse, because it was a distribution company, we had a big warehouse out the back. The people in the warehouse were starting to get offended that all they could hear was swearing all day up in the office. And so my mum had to go and laminate signs saying no swearing and put them at everyone's desk.
Is that why they're on there?
Yeah.
Far out.
Yeah, just to make people stop swearing and
That's
everyone's like instincts just came out and everyone was very primal and did whatever and there was no rules or boundaries and it was pretty crazy. But it was a big learning experience and we're almost the opposite of that now. We try not to drink too much, try not to party too much, no swearing in the office and trying to keep it nice and clean just to give everyone a good chance of success.
Yep. Well, it's definitely working.
It's going all right.
Yeah. You got some...
Just a battler.
Battling
trying
away. To find his way.
Yeah.
No, that's good. And then what do you think the future of Vendito is for you?
I would love to get Vendito to a point where there's multiple owners of the business. And I mean, if I could wave a magic wand, like right now where my head's at is if there was 3 or 4 partners in the business, they all had their own teams, maybe 20, 30 consultants, and I would be put more into a leadership role. Whereas at the moment, especially when you start your own recruitment agency, you are the sole contributor of the billings of your business.
Yep.
So your business heavily relies on you making placements to pay the bills, and generally staff don't actually make you money until like year 1 or 2. They're an outgoing basically, but when they start making money and they start being successful, you can get like heaps out of them. It's really fun and enjoyable. So I think, maybe in 5 years or so, I'd love a couple of owners of the business. We've got a few good recruiters that work at Vendito at the moment that are probably wanting to work towards that, which is exciting, and I'd love to see that transpire. But what about you? Where do you see Blended?
Yeah, similar. We got just opened a Melbourne office, so that's really exciting. Alex can build something down there, and I think he'll be with us for a long journey. And now we've got our HQ here in Brisbane, so
it's a nice
everything's
office,
in
mate.
place. Oh, thanks, mate.
Yeah.
It's been good, and being able to share it with Dee and her business at Blended Interiors, it just makes everything so much easier and streamlined. So I think something similar. Like I know we didn't chat for a couple of years, even though we worked down the road from each other, but things sort of rekindling a couple of years ago, having your business set up in a smarter way, and a similar goal to what you just mentioned. That's really where I'd want to go. Have a national business was always the outset.
Yep.
Even when I started, I had a little map of Australia.
Yeah, I saw that
on the wall.
Yeah.
And I said I'm going to take this business everywhere. So you never know. And it took way longer than what I thought. Like I'd always compare myself to other people and be like, fuck, how do they have that? How does Blake have a Q8 and I'm still at this place?
Yeah.
But you never really know someone's backstory. So there's no point comparing yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, really just to have, so we recruit across 3 major industries: commercial and industrial, digital and tech, real estate and property, for sales and marketing roles. So having a key person in each of those business units.
Yep.
And then across each of the states as well, like Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney.
That's cool.
That would be the goal.
Yep. Just got to keep.
You just got to keep grinding. It's such a grind.
Yeah.
And then hopefully not hopefully, but we've already got our license for like temp labour hire. Get a consistent stream of
I actually
contractors.
got mine last week.
Yeah, nice.
License.
Congrats, mate.
Thanks, mate. Big achievement. 1 step forward.
Yeah.
Hopefully no 2 steps back.
Nah.
So what about this podcast? What do you want to chat about, and how do you want to kind of set up this podcast from a value standpoint for anyone watching or listening?
Yeah, I sort of went with this in the like sort of 3 pillars. So like have a laugh, have a bit of humour, tell some stories, and then a bit of education, some lighthearted education.
Yep.
Where you can learn from our mistakes.
Yep.
And what we've done, share some war stories, and have a few laughs along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be good because I'm on the same page. I think having a place where recruiters can riff and just talk shit without feeling like they're going to cross boundaries with clients or candidates.
Yeah, or their boss is listening and just wigging out.
Yeah.
Because I think there's so much fake shit going on.
Yeah.
And like, look at LinkedIn with, people copy and pasting other people's posts just so they can get likes. Like,
Yeah.
I think we just need some honesty, and I think the community of recruitment needs to be shared and known about. I think I want to be that guy that in 10 years, you go to old school and be like, what do you want to be? I want to be a recruiter.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that needs to happen.
Yep.
It can't be this industry where you talk to a 60-year-old recruiter currently or a newbie, and you're like, how'd you both get into recruitment? Oh, I fell into it.
Yeah,
Like it can't.
Yeah. I just found the job.
Applied for a job and I got a job. So I think that's got to change. And if we can be the catalyst for that and, kick the can down the road, that's what I reckon. That's what I want this platform to be.
I think that's really cool. Yeah, because no one ever wants to be a recruiter or thinks about being a recruiter. So
then they get into it and they're like, I couldn't imagine not being a recruiter.
100%. Yeah, it's one of those industries that you don't think you'd ever go into, but if you go into it and you're somewhat good at it, then it's like, geez, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Even though it can be emotionally stressful and chaotic and crazy at times, it still has huge reward if you're doing it right and you're putting in the work and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but even like, finance is obviously one benefit, but like the people that associate with it is good. Like you're having coffees, you're going out to dinners, lunches.
Yeah.
Usually your clients are awesome. Like they're in a fun headspace.
Yeah.
Everyone's motivated, dress as well.
Yeah, I think what's really cool, especially over the last couple of years, is now that it's a candidate market, and this might change, being a recruiter can actually be really exciting for candidates because they're getting massive pay rises and they're getting opportunities.
What's the biggest pay rise you've heard of since the market swung? Or you've seen?
I've got someone a 50K salary pay rise.
Yep.
I think it was on 55K. It was on 80K plus car plus super. You got offered 135K plus car plus super.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I had a guy 55K base plus car, got him 100K.
That's wild.
Plus car, plus super, plus comms.
And you know what? When that happens,
that's life changing.
That's life changing. Yeah, 100%.
We've had another big puppy, but I think there's a point where candidates have to realize, shit, now I've got to deliver on that.
Yep.
And the expectations double. Your skill hasn't doubled since you took the interview or left your previous job. And I think that's where some of them we get out.
Yep, 100%.
But it is
interesting. Cool. What I do wonder is when this market's going to change. Like you've seen the last, 12 to 18 months in recruitment has been like, I feel like the golden era of recruitment.
Like
everyone's making
before the recession.
Yep. Everyone's making a shitload of money. It's really, really easy to make placements. You're like trying to beat clients away with a stick basically because you just can't fill all the roles.
Yep.
And, 2 years ago, it used to be like you'd pump out like 300 BD calls trying to get one job and you'd finally get something and then you'd be like holding on to it for dear life. Whereas now it's like completely the opposite way. So it's a really interesting shift right now. And what I do wonder is when that shift is going to come back, because it will come back. Everything, when the pendulum swings too far one way, it always swings back the other way, if not harder. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen with candidates' expectations and clients and recruitment in general. A lot of recruiters possibly getting quite comfortable and kind of lazy with their BD or with how much effort they put in, because you can just trip over deals left, right, and center. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the recruitment industry over the next couple of years, for everybody.
Yeah.
I wonder when the gravy train's going to stop.
Well, we need the people back. So as long as we have consistent countries fully operating and are sending people in, then we need that population growth. I reckon that's a couple of years away. And even if this recession's coming or not, I think you know how recruiters usually get wiped out when recessions are on?
Yeah.
I think this has never been, this recession will be the first time where you see recruitment agencies just go power through it.
Yeah, okay.
Because I reckon there's that much, like we're at 3.5% unemployment. When we got in, I think we're at like 6%.
Yeah.
And it was still, you could still make what you're making.
Yeah.
So that's a big growth. That's almost doubling again.
Yeah.
That's 1.5% difference.
Yeah.
That's huge. So
Yeah.
I reckon this situation will last for another couple of years.
Well, I don't know if there's any correlation, but with the housing market, do you reckon there's any correlation between the housing market and
Recruitment.
general like business confidence?
Yeah.
Because last quarter, I think it was last quarter or last month maybe, I saw this stat where the housing market has taken the biggest loss since the 2008 recession. So like the prices have just like clawed right back. It was on an absolute heater for like 12, 18 months. And now it's like everything's starting to drop really hard, really faster than the last 15 years.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's going to be like a pre-warning sign for the rest of, business and recruitment and, just general overall confidence in the market where.
Yeah, I think so.
Possibly.
But another thing that got me thinking was like all the mass layoffs, like huge company brands in tech in America laying off thousands. Have you seen that on LinkedIn?
No.
Yeah, huge layoffs. I think it was Shopify did the other day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird because like all those tech companies, they've just died in the ass. They're like 70% down on their stock prices and stuff like that. Like Netflix, Spotify, Facebook is the only one that is still kind of hanging on by the thread, but it's still dropped 50%, something like that. I think all of these tech stocks are cheaper now than they were when they IPO'd and launched. Yeah, have you seen that?
No.
It's wild.
Why is that?
No idea.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But like, whether you the only person that gets into trouble in these situations is the one that sits back and does fucking nothing.
Yeah. 100%.
If you just rip in and keep thinking there's deals out there, like Christmas always comes, there's always going to be something.
That's a really good point because when COVID happened, March 2020 or something like that was when the first kind of hysteria hit and no businesses were hiring. I think in Vendito, we almost had our first 0 month.
Yeah, April was my first ever 0 month in Blended.
Yeah.
I remember chatting to you and you're like, dude, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, I don't know. I just lost 70K of pipeline in a week.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, this is cooked.
Yeah. I think we had maybe 6 or 7 people about to start that week and none of them started. We had like 10, 11 candidates at offer stage. None of them got the offer. And then clients that did start someone, their invoices were due, were like, sorry, mate, we're not going to pay this until we know what's going on. So I think it was March or April. We brought in like $6,000 for the month revenue. So we went backwards like 60K for that 1 month, which was a massive hit. And then it kind of simmered off a little bit over the next probably 3 or 4 months. Still struggle street, basically trying to break even with salaries and costs. And we were probably in an office that we signed up to that was really expensive. It was like a 400 square meter office and there was like 7 of us. So massive overkill, huge waste of expenses. So our expenses were really, really high because I was anticipating, putting on 100 recruiters and I'm going to reach for the stars. And mate, that never happened. And then COVID hit and then I got rid of half the people.
What was that like? Was it just expected because of the way it was?
Yeah, I think everyone left on really good terms. They kind of just knew what the lay of land was. I don't think anyone was like had a gripe or had the shits or anything like that. It was just like, hey, this is happening to all of us, and so
And you're not personally paying your costs?
yeah, so it was all right. It wasn't too bad. A bit of a dent to the ego because there was times where I was like, oh, maybe Vendito's going down and this whole thing wasn't meant to be. But we turned it around pretty quickly. We just kind of, and the reason why we got onto why I bring this topic up is when COVID first hit, there was a lot of people that just went, all right, pulling the pin. I'm just going to sit tight and do nothing and be super lazy because the world's in like turmoil. And you had two types of people that were like, all right, I'm going to double down and take advantage of this opportunity while everyone's tapping out. I'm going to try and create something, build something, work twice as hard, double down. And those are the people that came out on top after COVID quite quickly. And then there was people that just kind of sat around and just did nothing and said, no, I'm not going to work. I'm not doing this. I'm getting my money from the government. It's COVID, and just used COVID as like a leverage excuse to be lazy and unmotivated. And so you had two types of people, and I found probably 70 to 80% of the people that I knew went the latter and just started drinking and going out and partying and, not really giving a shit, and just completely lost all discipline and focus. And then thankfully I wasn't like that. I doubled down.
Yeah, you did a little side hustle?
Did a little side hustle, Job Seeker Mastery. Unfortunately, it's no longer. But it was really cool, though. Job Seeker Mastery was actually an awesome learning experience. Took a lot of energy, a lot of effort. It made a lot of money too, but unfortunately Facebook and Google didn't agree with the job title, Job Seeker. Thought I was taking advantage of people during COVID, and then they blacklisted my website. And
officially?
Yeah. I couldn't advertise. Kept getting blocked, saying that you can't advertise with this company name. So I had it was like a 4.5 hour online course, how to prep job seekers. How to do your resume, what to say in an interview. Basically, what we do as recruiters. But I just made a big video. Yeah, big video, and then
a lot of people said it wouldn't work. Hey.
Heaps of people,
CV writers, everyone said, mate, you're crazy.
Yeah. How are you going to charge $300 to $500 for someone that doesn't have a job just to teach them how to write the resume? You're not even actually writing their resume. People wouldn't even spend $300 to get their resume done up, let alone you not even doing it for them and showing them how to do it. But we got 450 signups in 6 months. So it went pretty well. And yeah, that was awesome. But unfortunately, if I just redid it and just changed all the logos and branding, but I say the word Job Seeker Mastery in the videos as well, which still gets blocked. Like if you say the word in a video.
Wow.
Yeah, you can't advertise on Facebook and Google. You can't advertise employment opportunities.
Unless it's a job ad by them, for them.
Unless you're posting a job ad.
Yep.
But you can't advertise political campaigns. Unless you click that it's a political or job ad, and then it gets throttled so no one can see it. But you can't advertise employment opportunities, credit, loans, financing, and political
and
campaigns.
crypto.
Crypto is one of them. Yeah. So it was kept getting put in the bucket of you're not allowed to advertise, and I kept going through support and trying to get around it, and said, look, I'm not advertising jobs. I'm advertising to teach people how to get jobs. So it was a mission to just constantly try and get my account unlocked all the time. And then I just gave up eventually and thought, you know what, I'm just going to focus on Vendito again and go back to what I know and double down on recruitment rather than doing, 80% recruitment, 20% online course. I just went back into recruitment and here I am.
Yeah, nice. I'm glad you did it.
Yeah.
Kept going.
Absolutely.
And then, because I think that's where through COVID, that's where we sort of rekindled. And then you realise we've been going through the same shit for the last 2 to 3 years beforehand.
Yep.
And you go, hang on a second.
Yep.
And then we had that recruiter night where recruiters can learn off each other. And, and so this has been bubbling away for a couple of years.
Yeah, 100%.
For us to get to the point where we are now.
Yeah, and I think, when we got taught recruitment from our last agency boss, because me and Declan used to work at the same recruitment agency, if anyone didn't know, It was very much a don't accept recruiters on LinkedIn. Don't talk to them. They'll steal your jobs. They'll steal your clients.
The world's an enemy.
Yeah, and it was like the more of the pie they, the more success they have, the less pie you've got. And it was like if
It was celebrated if we beat a recruiter to a job. And
yeah, it was like if they're winning, that means you're losing. And so never let them into your circle or network with them or talk to them, because they'll find out a way to take advantage of you and take money out of your back pocket. Was essentially like the sentiment that we got taught in recruitment, which,
couldn't be
is,
so far from
the
the truth.
worst. Yeah, that's the one thing that, could have done. It could have been better in our last agency. It was a more inclusive and successful entrepreneurial mindset rather than this closed off scarcity mindset. Like, you want to have a mindset of abundance, and the better everyone does around you, naturally, the better you do yourself.
Yep.
So I think when we started talking and you started Blended and I had Vendito, and we started talking to each other and going, oh, what are you doing here? And how did you handle this situation? And then all of a sudden it was kind of dawned on us that how many other people that have gone and started their own recruitment agency are all making the exact same mistakes of each other.
They're not talking to each other.
Them. Yeah, they're not talking to each other. There's hundreds of them out there that are all literally just making the exact same mistakes. And if everyone just had a conversation with each other, then we could remove that whole entire
stigma.
Yeah, the stigma, and reduce the learning curve for people going out on their own and starting their own recruitment agency. Like, you don't have to pioneer your own pathway by yourself and figure it all out. Like, you can take info and advice from other people, and other people would usually give it for free. When I first started Vendito, I reached out to an agency owner that I looked at his business and I kind of looked up to it, Stellar Recruitment, Sean McCambridge.
Yep.
And I just sent him a random email one day and just like, hey, mate, I've started my own recruitment agency. I'd be keen to just pick your brain on how you do things and blah, blah, blah. And, he emailed me back. He's like, yeah, mate, come catch up. And I'm pretty sure I bring a voice recorder in and put the recorder on the desk and said, do you mind if I record our conversation? And he's like, oh, okay. And I just belted him with like 400 questions. So, mate, how did you start? At what point do you need to put, management on, then instead of you managing everyone yourself? And he was awesome. He was super open and kind of gave me heaps of really good advice. Caught up a couple of times, shouted me lunch while we had a chat about it and asked how I was going. So there's people out there, he's a legend.
But most people in your position wouldn't ask that question.
Exactly, because they'd be afraid to.
Yeah. Why would he want to talk to me?
Yeah, but you know what? It's almost like kind of
the opposite.
Nice. It's like if someone started their own recruitment agency and hit me up and said, hey, can I get your advice on something? I'd go, yeah, mate, absolutely. How can I help? So it's just the mindset of coming from employee to a business mindset, and a business owner mindset is a really big difference. And so you don't realize how much everyone's there to look out for you and wants to see you succeed from going into business.
Yep.
Because when you're an employee, you think everyone's against each other and it's like dog eat dog world, but it's really not. Everyone's just having a crack and trying to help each other. And if you reach out and be proactive, I'm sure people will give you some free advice and want to help you succeed and all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's exciting. And then, so mate, why don't we just talk about this big puppy we're launching?
Yeah, do you want to?
Excited?
Yeah, I'm excited.
So yeah, like we said, we've been bubbling away on this. We've had one of our first clients for over 12 months.
Yep.
He's been Jim Jam of Halisoft.
Jam of Halisoft.
Halisoft is our first agency, but yeah, you're going to see a lot about XRecruiter. So, you're an XRecruiter because now you're a business owner. You're a recruiter turned business owner. Yep. That's why it's called XRecruiter. And effectively it's the first platform in, how long's recruitment been around for?
Ever?
Forever.
Yep.
Yeah, what, since the 60s, 70s?
Oh, I think probably earlier than that.
Before?
Yeah. Recruitment's a pretty old gig.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help. Oh, it's probably not formalised the way that it is in corporatised now, but yeah, I haven't seen anyone else do what we're doing with XRecruiter.
No, it's an industry first, and it's right there in front of your face. And I think with how the world's changing, having ownership, look at crypto, NFTs, everyone can own a little bit of something.
Yeah.
It's definitely the future. So XRecruiter is a platform and a community of recruiters all working for themselves in their own business. No one owns each other's business. There's no franchising, no licensing, Nothing like that. It's completely, you're a sole contributor, and we share resources, learning, and everything together, and we help you support and grow your business.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. When did this start? 2021, 2020?
It would have been the end of 2020.
Yeah, when you explain XRecruiter to someone, they immediately go, of course, that's fucking great. How good is this? And for some reason, I don't know why it hasn't been thought of before, but it just seems like such an obvious thing where if you want to go out on your own, and recruitment's like that. Recruitment, it's pretty easy to go out on your own and do your own thing. It's
a very low entry. Like, look at real estate, digital companies. You need a phone, a laptop, bit of passion, bit of drive, discipline.
Yeah.
And you'll make something of it.
And you can try and give it a crack. Unfortunately, the success rate is quite low. And I think it's because people try and give it a crack on their own and they don't really know what they're doing and they don't seek out help and they're probably in their own head and struggle. Some people obviously do well, but XRecruiter providing recruiters the platform to have the confidence, the training, the support, someone to bounce ideas off. I was
marketing, financial.
Yeah. I was pretty lucky. I had that kind of business support with my family when I started Vendito. So the learning curve for me was quite short trying to get up and running because I had someone there that was looking out for me. Whereas if you're starting out on your own, like you didn't really have, you kind of had someone, you had the big fella looking out for you, but you don't really have people in your corner like helping you with your business.
Not to the extent of that. He couldn't tell me how to run my books. It'd be like, make sure you pay your receipts and keep cold calling, mate. I'm like, yep, no worries. Like that was sort of the, and the big thing I learned from him was the marketing aspect, putting yourself out there, being that 100th cow, being different. And I think that obviously worked fairly well.
Yeah. So, I think XRecruiter is going to be a bit of a game changer for the recruitment industry. It's going to bring, I think, recruitment into the 21st century. I think recruitment generally, you see a lot of independent recruiters that are doing their own thing and it's like really basic. There's no recruiters that are an independent recruiter that present themselves like they're really running a tight ship. They don't have great brand presence. It's usually just really basic mock-ups, websites and templated stuff. And it all just kind of looks super amateur. Whereas I'm sure they're great recruiters and branding and marketing is probably not their strong suit. And the money's obviously tight as well when you start your own recruitment agency. You waste a lot of your money on shit that doesn't matter.
There's massive subscriptions.
Oh, huge. And so it's really hard to juggle everything all at once. Whereas with XRecruiter, everything's done for you and assisted in every way, shape or form, where you can actually be your best self in your own agency and have none of the stress or the pressure of, long-term contracts, subscriptions, minimum costs.
Brand guidelines, balancing your books, cash flow forecasting.
Yeah.
Bookkeeping.
So I think there's a lot of senior recruiters out there that bring in a lot of money. I was speaking to heaps of recruiters over the last couple of months, and the biggest kind of roadblock for them to start their own agency is they just don't know where to start. And it's not that complicated. It's not that complicated when you look back after doing it. It probably is when you don't know where to start. But hopefully this is going to inspire a lot of independent recruiters that are self-sufficient, that are entrepreneurial in nature, that do want to take the next step in their career, but they just don't have the support or resources around them to do that. This is going to unlock a lot of those senior recruiters to help them do their own thing and kind of create their own destiny.
Yeah, and I think it's the future of work.
Yeah.
Because you can read every book under the sun. When you start your own business, you're forced to learn lessons that you never even thought of.
Yeah.
So that's where it's still, and then they just get to focus on recruitment, on what they're good at, and we're the team that supports them and makes them get there.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
I just think it's epic to start something in such an old industry that no one has ever done before.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be interesting, the feedback. I'm looking forward to getting our first 10 recruiters on board, and then watching them succeed, of what they like and what their challenges are. Obviously, our businesses go through XRecruiter as well, so it's good that we are able to be our own clients and walk the walk and understand the pitfalls and the blind spots that other recruiters would take when building an agency, because I'm sure a lot of people that want to start their own agency don't want to just be independent and stay as one-man band.
No, they want to grow something substantial, have a team.
So it's good that we've got our first client that we've been doing this with for a year, over a year and a half maybe.
Yeah.
So we can really refine our process to give as much value to independent recruiters as we can. And then on top of that, people can see our agencies with how many staff we have and still see that it works quite well when scaling your agency too. So I think we're in a really good position where we're not, a multi-billion dollar company that is out of touch with recruiters. We're recruiters ourselves. We're probably the right age group for anyone that's thinking about going out on their own. We've got a small business, so we're on the front lines doing everything ourselves as well. So being able to learn from someone that's just slightly ahead of you is more realistic than learning from someone that is a angel investor with 5 different companies and they're worth 100 mil, and you're getting advice from this guy that's been so far up the top for so long that nothing really sinks or hits. But when you're getting advice from people that are literally doing the same thing that you are, but just maybe a couple of steps ahead, you can actually get really good feedback and advice because it's not that gap isn't too far. So it's easy to understand where people are at. And I think that's why we've got a bit of an advantage in where we're at right now, rather than a massive company or a big dog that's worth trillions of dollars, is because it's probably more relatable. We're more relatable in that regard, maybe. I think anyway. Maybe we are, maybe we aren't. Who knows? Probably thinking, these roosters. But yeah, it'll be really good. I'm looking forward to getting the feedback on everyone, launching, getting some recruiters on board, celebrating, changing it up,
changing
the industry.
So 15th of August, 2022, we're etching that
15th
in
of August.
history.
Yep.
XRecruiter. Work for yourself, not by yourself.
That's it. How good.
That is going to be exciting. Well, I reckon we just cap it off on such a high.
Yep.
Sweet.
Woohoo!
Thanks for listening. Confessions of a Recruiter. If you do know any recruiters that are, recruiters, obviously reach out to us. We'd love to build our guest list. We are going to be getting recruiters on at any level, any role, from a candidate manager right through to a big dog running multi-million-dollar agency. We are open to chatting to anyone and everyone and really celebrate the community of recruitment and get everyone working together.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Is that good?
Yeah, love
Confessions of a Recruiter. Let's build this community and make it something worth fighting for.